For weeks, a persistent dispute within the United States Congress has left countless employees of the United States Department of Homeland Security without pay. This critical situation affects vital personnel, including members of the United States Coast Guard and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Now, United States President Donald Trump has intervened, taking the matter into his own hands. President Trump has signed an order to ensure that employees of the Department of Homeland Security receive their salaries, despite the ongoing deadlock over the department's funding. Through an emergency decree, President Trump has instructed the agency to disperse all missed wages to corpus every single employee. To achieve this, funds originally approved by the United States Congress for other purposes are to be reallocated. President Trump justified this move by stating that the use of these funds maintains an appropriate and logical connection to the department's duties, seemingly addressing potential legal concerns surrounding such a measure. The partial standstill of government operations within the Department of Homeland Security has now lasted for 50 days. In his order, President Trump argued that the current circumstances constitute an emergency, posing a threat to the security of the United States. More than 35,000 employees, including personnel from the United States Coast Guard and the Federal Emergency Management Agency, have not received their salaries for nearly 2 months. President Trump once again placed the blame for this impasse squarely on the Democrats in the United States Congress. Democrats and Republicans have been unable to agree on a budget for the Department of Homeland Security. At the heart of this dispute are the deportation raids conducted by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, an agency operating under the Department of Homeland Security. Following an incident in which federal officers reportedly killed 2 individuals in Minneapolis, Democrats refused to approve the department's budget. According to the Constitution, budgetary matters and the financing of federal agencies fall under the purview of Congress. President Trump's proactive step to pay employees by reallocating previously approved funds could therefore raise legal questions, especially if these funds are ultimately used for purposes other than those initially designated by the legislature. President Trump recently announced this measure on his platform, Truth Social. A similar announcement was made by President Trump last week concerning airport security personnel who also fall under the Department of Homeland Security. Extended queues at airports had become a test of patience for many United States citizens during the holiday season. Since then, approximately 50,000 security employees have received their salaries, and the disruptions have subsided. This latest move by President Trump highlights the escalating tensions between the executive branch and Congress over critical government funding and constitutional powers. Summary: 4 weeks, a deadlock in the United States Congress has left thousands of employees within the Department of Homeland Security unpaid, including those in the United States Coast Guard and the Federal Emergency Management Agency. United States President Donald Trump has now taken executive action, signing an order to ensure these workers receive their missed salaries. President Trump's decree mandates the reallocation of funds initially earmarked by Congress for other uses, justifying this by stating the fund's new purpose aligns logically with the Department of Homeland Security's functions. He declared the situation an emergency, citing threats to national security. The government shutdown affecting the department has lasted 50 days, impacting over 35,000 employees who have gone nearly 2 months without pay. President Trump attributes the funding dispute to Democrats in Congress, stemming from disagreements over immigration and customs enforcement raids, particularly after an incident in Minneapolis. This move raises constitutional questions, as budget approval is traditionally a congressional responsibility. President Trump previously took similar action for airport security staff, resolving chaos caused by unpaid personnel. What's your take on President Trump forces pay for unpaid U.S. workers? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence.